This week on The Handle. Meet an Amarillo couple bringing the exhilarating dances of their birthplace to their new home. Then meet a young actress with big dreams. And a young chef trying to change the way you think about hospital food. All of this right now on Panhandle PBS as we tell the stories of the Texas Panhandle.
Bollywood it's a dance form, so dancing, music is universal.
I'm Bhakti Salian, and
I am Rahul Salian. I'm better half of Bhakti Salian.
Yes.
And I'm also part of the AFS Polytainment. That's the dance academy and dance production that we have actually started here in Amarillo. And we've been doing that for past 8 years.
We had like a limousine, Hummer kind of a life where we come out of the airport and we have limousine, like celebrity life.
I started Bollywood in 1995. There was a movie called Rangila, which actually changed the whole concept of dancing, because the movie was choreographed by a 20-year-old young college-going guy who happens to be my best friend. His name was Ahmed Khan. So we made a team and we started, and then the whole Bollywood trend changed after that. People started looking out for backup dancers because they saw fresh faces, good-looking girls, guys dressed up well, and if the dances were changed, it was more advanced. So I started my career from there, and I've been assisting like one of most top choreographers, Farah Khan, in the Bollywood film industry. I assisted her for 4 years. Yeah.
I started my career as a dance teacher. I was not like him in movies at first. My kids won competitions, 2 competitions. That's how I became famous in Mumbai. And my sister auditioned for his show. They were having a show, they needed 2 girls, so it was her. And then she said, "Can you please join in?" I said, "Okay, they need 1 more girl." I went, and he never auditioned me, or his team never auditioned me, and he said, "Okay, you're in." Since then I was a part of his dance team, dance troupe, and since then it was 2002 when I met him for the first time.
When we started shows, we couldn't get along. We used to fight a lot. Yeah.
I don't know, I just couldn't stand him at first. I still cannot stand him sometimes. But it's a funny story. I mean, we met 3 times before we met in person, introduced and all. So it was, and in the same industry, you keep bumping into each other, and then finally we realize, oh my gosh, we're in love.
What was it about her that finally made you stop fighting with her?
I think
I want
reason,
to know.
I think the most important reason was, I think she was very caring. Yeah, and she was always she used to always care about my food habits. Oh, you've eaten or not? Because I was a choreographer who never used to.
Yeah.
I was very picky about eating, so she was the one who used to always get food for me at the rehearsal hall and made sure that I ate. And small things like that, it always, so at the back of my mind, I was like, no, I think I'm in love with this girl,
I had no reason to get mad at him, but it's just, he was the only annoying person I could see in the group.
We are complete opposite, but the attraction was still there.
Yes.
What was it about him?
Well, he was very nice, and he was out of words. He's very respectful, and it just touched my heart. The way he would talk to me, and he was very bad in eating. Like, he would not eat. Everybody else would sit down and eat, and he would not eat. And then I realized that I'm just constantly focusing on Rahul. Like, there are so many people in the group, and why am I just either fighting with him or caring about him, looking at him? And the way he choreographed was really amazing. When we came here, I was pregnant with my little one. And I was just watching one of the Bollywood shows that they have here, annual Indian community show.
We didn't know actually what was in store in Amarillo for us, but when we saw that, we were really happy, because that's what our passion is, Bollywood, all about. Because we've been in the industry for almost more than a decade.
After I delivered her, I started telling the Indian Association that we have been choreographers for several movies. and we just want to show you all what we can do. Since then, every annual show they have booked us. Bollywood produces more than 1,000 movies a year, and every movie has 5 to 6 songs. A movie cannot be complete without a song,
Without songs.
and most of the
Those
songs are
the,
dance numbers.
most important parts. Bollywood is not restricted to only the Indian community.
Exactly.
It doesn't have a kind of a set of religion
Exactly.
or anything. So it's like, it's a universal thing. So we thought like, this is a good way of spreading Bollywood, the dance form, and as well as spreading the culture.
Yes, it's like getting everybody closer through dancing. It's like, we are united by something.
Yeah.
Like we are united by love. We are also united by music. We are united by dance. We just wanted to get more people involved so we can feel that it's like, we are doing something to entertain Amarillo.
Swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots.
Now that's just crazy how talented she is and how much she has grown over the years, for sure.
We've known since Taylor was itty-bitty that she had a lot of drama in her. So it was no surprise to us when we signed her up for the ALT Academy, and she just started thriving here. At some point, Taylor started telling us, I want to do more, I want to do more. I want to be on Broadway, I want to be on Broadway.
So immediately when they said, we're going to go off to either New York to audition for some stuff or San Antonio to audition for things, the thing that I loved about it the most was that I knew she was ready. I mean, she why not?
Oh, we were really excited. We actually found out that it was an ALT season before we even knew about the San Antonio. So she had plans to audition for this long before San Antonio came to be. Todd and I just started looking for opportunities for her. And this one was close enough to home that it wasn't a huge stretch. And so we thought we would let her audition and see what happened. And it turned into something way more than we ever thought it would.
So we heard about it in an email. We were just like, hey, can we come audition for this? And they were like, sure, come on. And so we drove up to San Antonio and I auditioned, and they said, okay, we're gonna bring your mom in now. And I was like, okay. And when she was in there, they basically just said, wow, her voice is amazing.
And she gave all of her professional slate, kind of the before the audition of what to, her name and how old she was and what she's singing. It just was so professional. And they were like, where did you learn how to do that? You're a child and you already know what to do. She's like, this is what we do every day in my theater back in Amarillo. Like, this is a regular. Like, what are you talking about? And so it was so great to hear awesome positive feedback of her training, and just kind of reassures us like, yep, we're doing the right thing here in Amarillo. We're setting up kids to go off and hopefully be successful. And the training that we're providing them is on the national level for sure.
Taylor and I lived in San Antonio for 9 weeks. And then so Todd and Will just kind of came back and forth with us as they could on the weekends, and with some family help as well. I would get to come home some, and grandmothers would go stay with Taylor. But we made it work, and really glad that we did. It's an experience that we look back on and don't regret one bit.
It was amazing. It was my first professional, paying experience. It was so fun. And I love the cast.
She's already making some great contacts. She's making some great relationships with different theater companies, and she's going to auditions, and they're getting to see her over and over again.
She's got a good head on her shoulders, and she understands moments, which is what theater is made up of.
It's been a fun journey with her, for sure. Just to watch her kind of work hard at something and be successful at it has shown us that, it's worth letting her go do some of these other auditions, because she is willing to work for it. And something a lot of people don't see is she does work really, really hard. And it's fun for her dad and I to see that hard work pay off for her. She has a lot on her plate right now. The San Antonio thing has just opened a lot of doors for her. And she just signed with an agent and a manager in New York. And so we are in New York quite a bit. She's auditioning for a lot of different things. And so the future is bright for her.
I think she's right on the brim of the next big step. I think something big is coming her way. Whether that be Broadway, whether that be a film, a TV show, she's right on the cusp of it. And so I'm excited just to see who says yes, her next big yes, because I think that's going to be huge. And I'm really, really excited for her.
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind about that. I want to be an actor.
This week's Chef Spotlight is on Sam Blackburn, a member of West Texas Chef's Table. That's the group that helped Panhandle PBS with a farm-to-table dinner series we call Savor the Goods. Blackburn's day job consists of leading a team that produces thousands of meals each week.
For me, a lot of times when I'm training my staff in a restaurant, you're not selling food to customers, you're creating experiences for guests. And that's really what, I look at it as, whether it's here in the hospital or in a restaurant. Sam Blackburn, I'm the executive chef at Northwest Texas Healthcare System. I work for Sodexo, which is a global company that we actually manage the food service here at Northwest. From Amarillo, Texas, born and raised, actually born in this hospital. I would say at least minimum of 500 people pass through our cafeteria on a given day. And it could be anywhere between 5 to 800 to 1,000, it just kind of depends. We start meal service at 6:30 in the morning, so we serve breakfast from 6:30 to 10, and then we do lunch service from 11 to 2, some extended till 3, and then we actually keep our cafe open until 1:30 in the morning. We have a whole package program called Simply to Go that we make in-house, so we try to offer a wide variety of stuff for our staff here. The ways that I've tried to change it just from my time here, I started in December 2016 at Northwest. Sodexo actually took the food service over here, and the first observation that I had was that we needed better production system for our patient food. So I actually rewrote all of our patient menus. Obviously, I coordinated that with our dietitians and everybody that's in the clinical nutrition side, and implemented new menus for all the diets. We have a person that's in this role called the patient ambassador, and they actually go up to the rooms for people that they do rounding with our patients, and also try to get people off of non-select diets that maybe don't have to be on one. So people that are having a hard time ordering or that can't read the menu or can't physically get to the menu, and they kind of walk them through and say, would you like a freshly cooked burger? Or we make, we have a whole omelet selection. We do breakfast tacos, omelets. There's all sorts of different stuff that you wouldn't expect on a hospital menu. Two things that we do daily with our staff. In the morning, we do a culinary planning meeting. We go over the menu for the day, and then we go over also tomorrow's menu, any stuff that is going to create any kind of disruption for us. And then we talk about tomorrow's menu. So that's early in the morning, and then 11 o'clock, whenever all the food's ready for lunch, we actually pull everybody in, all of our cooks, and we taste all the food together every day. I decided to go to summer school 2 years in a row so I could graduate a year early, thinking that I wanted to go to St. John's in Santa Fe and become a lawyer eventually. But I think that really subconsciously I was kind of setting the path for myself to be in the restaurant business. St. John's is a really involved curriculum. There's only 2 campuses in the United States, and it's a curriculum that's based on the works of Western civilization. Like, you learn basics you learn Greek and French your first 2 years, and French the second 2 years, and they base everything, like your math starts with Euclid. I was doing really well, and was really struggling with the fact that I couldn't cook or work in a restaurant, so I dropped out. Both my parents were a little bit shocked, to say the least. They just sent me off to Santa Fe to go to I just wrote like a 20-page thesis statement to get into St. John's, and so they're like, been here 3 months, all right, good luck. I just turned 18, so I got an apartment on my own and came back and worked at Zen as the lead cook, and shortly after that I went to Lincoln's restaurant for a while, and that's where I realized that I really wanted to pursue the career in the culinary arts. I applied to Scottsdale Culinary Institute in Scottsdale, Arizona. From there, the rest was history. Through West Texas Chef's Table, I've developed so many relationships that I treasure and cherish because they're really, chefs are kind of nuts. So I'm really just constantly reminded, by how lucky I am, fortunate I am to be associated with the people that have been doing these events.
Blackburn shares something in common with rancher Alan Birkenfeld of Nazareth. They both changed career courses to follow their hearts. Birkenfeld provided meat for Blackburn's Savor the Goods menu.
I'm not going to lie, whenever I graduated from Nazareth, the only road I wanted to be on was the one out of town. I thought I was never going to come back to this place, but when you get out and experience the world and realize that, man, a lot of the things I really want in life were right back there. It's nice that you can come back and have a place where your roots are and your family's still here and you can call it home still. I'm Alan Birkenfeld, and we are here at the headquarters of Pie Dome Meats in Nazareth, Texas. Everything we do comes from the sun and the land, and I wanted to tie it also back to the people that were here. And before our German ancestors came over, it was the Comanche and Kiowa tribes were here. I didn't know any Comanche, but I knew one Kiowa Indian, and he said their words for sun and land were pie and dome, and hence the name Pie Dome Meats. Well, I came back from getting my master's degree in Utah in 1994, and at the time I was single and really didn't have a plan for what I was going to do. I just realized that I no longer thought becoming a professor was for me. I had these ideas about ruminants on pasture, and that's where they needed to be, and since I had nothing to really hold me back, when I came back here for my sister's wedding, I decided to stay and try some of these ideas. And when my dad asked me what I was going to do, he had pretty much already parted ways with all the equipment, with all the siblings who were staying around here, and so there really wasn't a land base or an equipment base to start with, which, looking back on that, that was very fortunate for me because it allowed me to go a different way. So he leased me this draw behind us, and that's where I started with 11 cows on September the 28th of 1994. And I'll still remember his words about this not being cow country, because we were mostly feeder country where we brought in calves from the outside, from southeast Texas or southeast US, and fed them out on pasture till they were ready to go to the feed yard. Our grass is not a lot of it, but it's very good nutrition, so it's good for that. And as he said, there's a reason you don't see a lot of cows in this country, but now you do. Things have changed since then. I would talk with these professors at various colleges that I was at and just ask them, here we were taking an animal, namely a bovine, a calf that could go and take a roughage that we couldn't consume and convert it into something that we could consume, i.e. meat. And here we were taking it and putting it in a yard, confining it and feeding it grains that we could utilize. And its system was designed, ecologically speaking, for something entirely different. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And I realized how that whole system came about after World War II, but I think there's people who would rather have an animal raised a different way. And I love free enterprise, I love choice. I don't badmouth the feedlots, and I hope they don't badmouth what I'm doing. I think people vote every day when they take $1 out of their pocket and they buy something. They're saying make more of that. Our livestock don't get any antibiotics. We don't even vaccinate. We go that far because we run a fairly closed system, and I've never had any problems in what are we going on, 20-some years. I've never had a problem with an animal dying of blackleg or things you vaccinate for. So in that sense, I believe we're organic. We also go beyond organic in that we're grass-fed, and that everything is finished out on pasture. It doesn't go to a feedlot. It doesn't consume a grain ration. So you get a cut of meat, and this is not me talking here. This is the research that has more nutrients. It's higher in omega-3 fatty acids, higher in conjugated linoleic acid, higher in a lot of the vitamins and minerals that people want in their food. And again, I'm not telling people that this is the end-all and be-all of meat. We just tell people what we do, how we raise them, and if that's what you want, then come see us. But the first thing I feel like we really sell is a relationship to where people know who grew the food, how it was grown, and if we violate that relationship, then you aren't going to want to buy from us anymore. So I feel like it's about trust. I think inherently people want a connection. I think there's some farmer in all of us. You see it, one of the biggest growth areas of agriculture is urban farming. People are more into gardening. New York City, they're growing on their rooftops. You know, people just want a connection to that food, and there's some joy in being able to harvest something you grew and put it on your table.
Where do you get that connection that you're talking about?
I guess it came from the way I was raised, and I hope I can impart that on my kids as well. But having grown up, Dad he was very big into diversity. He wanted they started with just this old dairy barn here, and then went on to, and he had a crop system, but he added cattle, he added a custom harvesting operation and a custom cattle hauling, livestock hauling business. But I think he instilled a lot of that in us as kids. We all had to work our way through that dairy barn and hopefully graduate from there and move on to something that was a little more appealing part of agriculture. But I think every one of us, all 12 of us kids, had a piece of that in our hearts, and that's why, you know, anytime we have a family gathering, we try to get together here at the home place, because this is where we all grew up. And again, I think that's something that's somehow in every human, whether they realize it or not, there's a little bit of agriculture in you. And as far as being out here and being able to grow things, see the fruits of your labor come to life, or to weep with the land when it's dry and parched and cracking, or to, you just become a place. And I guess that's what I've become. This place is me, this place is my family, and it's not so big that we can't walk across it in a day. So like I say, we weep when the land weeps, we rejoice when it rejoices.
Now, meet Danny Melius, a former software developer who farms his back and front yards, plus other locations in Amarillo. Melius harvested produce for Blackburn's plates.
At first, yeah, they'll look at us funny, or they look at me funny, like, what are you doing? Oh, putting in the garden, we're gardening, farming, stuff like that. But after I explain it to them, they get it. And they're like, oh man, that's a great idea. Thanks for doing it here in San Jacinto and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool. I'm Danny Melius. I'm a market gardener, and we're at my 6th Street plot, which I farm in conjunction with Square Mile Community Development. I garden for produce to sell to the public. I started market gardening my front and backyard in 2016. Fall of 2016, I started talking with Brady Clark, the executive director of Square Mile, to start providing them with produce when they opened up a market here in San Jacinto. That's a long-term goal for them. We agreed to provide them with produce, probably at a discount, because they're a nonprofit and, you know, we're doing some good here. In the meantime, they were donated 2 plots of land, which you see behind us. And Brady reached out again and was like, I know we talked about the market and providing us with produce, but what do you think about farming? These 2 plots we got donated. It was a little crazy, you know, everybody was kind of like, you're doing what? And I was kind of the same way. I was like, really, am I gonna do this? I was gardening for myself. I was just a hobby gardener, and I wanted to get better at it. So I started listening to a podcast called Permaculture Voices. And they had a series with this guy named Curtis Stone, who farms up in British Columbia, the Kewah Valley, on 1/3 of an acre on land he doesn't own in an urban setting, and he grosses $100,000. And I was kind of blown away by that podcast, and turns out he wrote a book, so I bought it and started reading it and started implementing his systems in my backyard on a small scale just to see if I could do it. Right as I was finishing that garden and planting and stuff, Hastings, my former employer, gave me notification that I might not have a job in 60 days because they were filing for bankruptcy. And so the idea was to start selling eventually. The timeline was just pushed up severely. We grow mostly greens, so we got Swiss chard, mustard greens, collard greens. We do three salad mixes now. One's just a gourmet salad mix with a variety of loose leaf lettuce. We have our, what I call the spring mix, which is kale, arugula, mizuna, and tatsoi all together in a mix. And my new salad mix is what I call the heat wave salad mix. It's a variety of 5 head lettuces that I cut early so that they're leafy, but they're all heat tolerant, so they grow much better here in this climate. Right now, in my second year, we've matched sales for last year already, and we're profitable. And you know, I can keep my house and feed my family, and you know, do some good for Square Mile at the same time, and provide food for other people, healthy food, good food, fresh food. So yeah, I mean, right now I'm successful. I just want to improve.
I am Kohala bound. If they ask you, that's where I'll be found. In a house facing towards the sea. Kohala is the place for me. The mountains sing to me. Kamehameha is still king to me. There's no spot on earth I'd rather be. Kohala is the place for me. I have been to New York, I have been to LA, I have traveled the world, but my mind has never changed. I have rambled and roamed, sought out truth in the East, but my heart's not at peace until I come back home. So I'm Kohala bound. If they ask you, that's where I